CTV News with Ricardo, Veneza.
We'll be able to do about 53% of our normal flight schedule today between the Air Canada family, and it will take about 7 to 10 days to ramp that fully back up to 100%.
Air Canada is getting flights back into the skies after overnight bargaining landed a tentative deal for 10,000 striking flight attendants. Good evening. Picket lines have come down after CUPE and Air Canada reached a tentative new contract in the early hours of this morning. As CTV's Heather Wright reports, the union says it achieved major gains for its workers that are likely to ripple through the industry.
Lines begin forming inside Terminal 1 at Toronto's Pearson Airport this afternoon, with Air Canada flights slowly returning to the air.
What's this process been like for you?
Hell.
The airline has warned getting back to normal could take 7 to 10 days, and many passengers are still stuck in limbo.
Getting bits and pieces. They don't seem to know what's going on themselves.
After 3 days on the picket line, CUPE, the union representing the roughly 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants, announced early this morning it had reached a deal with the airline. Full details of the agreement haven't been released, but Air Canada says its flight attendants will not only be the best paid in the country, they will also be compensated for pre- and post-flight work. With the deal now reached, the airline turns its attention to repairing its reputation.
We're deeply apologetic for what's going on. We understand the impact, the profound impact that this has had. We're going to do everything possible to get people home as quickly as we can.
Not paying flight attendants for on-the-ground work has been a common practice within the airline industry. And by changing its policy, experts expect other unions to ask for a similar deal in the future.
This will change the dynamics. This will eventually end up costing consumers more to fly because it increases the airline or the air carriers' costs of doing business. So we'll end up paying for this.
Prime Minister Mark Carney weighed in on the deal on social media, writing, "It is my hope that this will ensure flight attendants are compensated fairly at all times, while ending disruption for hundreds of thousands of Canadian families, workers and visitors to Canada." The strike has shone a light on the issue of unpaid work, with the Federal Jobs Department saying today its probe into these allegations will take between 6 and 8 weeks.
Air Canada says it hopes to get between 15 and 20% of its flights in the air today as it ramps up service. Because most of its fleet had to be returned to domestic airports due to the strike, every plane has to undergo engine and safety checks before it's cleared to fly. Heather Wright, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
Now, a key flashpoint in the strike was Ottawa's move to invoke Section 107 of the Canadian Labour Code to force striking staff back to work. Now, that backfired when the union defied the order.
They were using this as a crutch, and over the weekend, the flight attendants made sure that that crutch snapped. I very strongly hope that the message that this sends to employers and to our federal government is stay out of interference in collective bargaining and do not expect government to ride to your rescue.
The organized labor movement sees the defiance as a rallying point after the federal government has turned to Section 107 on multiple occasions to end recent labor disputes both at ports and on the rails. The Jobs Minister would not comment on the future viability of that provision.
I think what is going to happen over the next little while is Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code that some people argue has been abused in recent years by the federal government, is maybe hit a wall, and it's maybe there's going to be the brakes put on it, because the only power that directive has is when workers comply.
And still ahead, a look at the options for passengers caught in the middle of the labor dispute and the potential compensation that's available. Well, Pathway to Potential has launched its new Neighborhoods program tonight, focusing on the west side of downtown Windsor. It aims to make communities stronger and more resilient.
We're better together, and when neighbors know each other and they know each other's skills, gifts, and passions, and they're able to share them, it leads to amazing things for the economy, for our mental health, for basically every part of our lives.
Now, this new program is a 4-year pilot across 4 areas of Windsor, Essex. That's Bruce Park Village, where they were at tonight, an eastern chunk of downtown, a section of West Windsor, and in North Leamington. Each neighborhood will work with a lead organization to co-create an action plan, spelling out what residents want to see in their community and how to make it happen. For Bruce Park, the Downtown Windsor Community Collaborative is a lead, which has already spent more than 15 years building connections in that area. They say they'll be hosting community barbecues like tonight's every Tuesday evening through to Thanksgiving. At the end of the 4 years, the group hopes there's a chance to continue that work beyond the pilot.
One thing that I would really like to see that's pretty simple is everybody knows the names of at least 5 neighbors on their block. Even something like that is a really good metric in terms of safety in a neighborhood and just making sure that everyone has someone to lean on. So that is a pretty tangible thing that we can work on.
As we told you about last night, as of August 31st, Transit Windsor is rolling out new routes, new drivers, and new improvements. But as CTV's Chris Campbell reports, some neighborhoods are still waiting for the city to make good on past promises.
Transit Windsor is promising major improvements, adding more than 20,000 additional hours. Riders will see buses on the roads longer, more frequently, and on brand new routes.
Riders are going to see expanded networks. They're going to see new routes added to our currently existing system. We are going to be adding more hours to our Sunday service. And I think what riders are going to be most excited about is that we are reducing wait times.
At today's third open house on the matter, some residents welcome the added hours, saying it could make late-night travel easier.
The bus does work well where it's like in the high-density areas, but if you're just a bit off the track, you know, it's late. Sometimes it doesn't work. Like the bus doesn't show up.
I take the bus all the time, and this was very helpful to know what changes there are.
But advocacy group Activate Transit Windsor Essex says not all neighborhoods are seeing improvements. They point out that upgrades promised in the 2023 budget for Forest Glade and East Riverside still haven't materialized.
Definitely those East End improvements are something that riders have been looking for a really long time, and they haven't seen any updates on them.
The group says while the new hours are a step forward, council needs to provide clear reporting on the city's transit master plan so riders know when all promised improvements will arrive.
Because right now, everything's very fragmented, and it's been since 2019 we haven't had any update. That's 6 years of essentially silence on what progress has been made towards the transit master plan.
Some of those changes have not been implemented yet because we're waiting for the East End terminal to be built.
Another open house is scheduled for Wednesday at the downtown transit terminal. The new service hours, expanded coverage, and changes to routes are scheduled to take effect on August 31st. At the same time, the tunnel bus and school extras will stop running. Officials say more enhancements will be announced after the new East End terminal is built.
Whether you're a new rider for the first time coming this fall, or whether you're an existing rider, to please spend some time on our website. We have all the information on there.
Chris Campbell, CTV News.
Now, the City of Windsor has launched a new survey looking for feedback to transform a piece of the city's history. CTV's Sanjay Morrow has more on the plans to turn the former W.D. Lowe building into new housing.
Well, the survey launched just this morning, and it asks about things like building height, design, parking, and ways to reuse this historic school while adding new homes onto the former schoolyard, something that residents in this area have mixed reactions about. For more than 2 decades, the old W.D. Lowe Secondary School has stood mostly vacant. Now the city is asking what its next chapter should look like.
We absolutely need housing, and it's great for the neighborhood, I think, if we can keep it a park and a great place to enjoy the area as well.
W.D. Lowe High School began as Walkerville Technical School in the 1920s. It grew into a premier technical vocational school before closing its doors in 2000. The 2-hectare site has now been earmarked for housing.
They don't build schools like that anymore, so the facade is something worth protecting. And in terms of heritage, that's what we're primarily concerned about as a developer who will actually protect the facade, but redevelop the rest of the 5 acres and think of the amount of housing we can get on that 5-acre parcel.
Some in the neighborhood, however, oppose the idea, arguing the school should return to its roots.
That was the best trade school in Ontario. Government's crying about trades. Open that back up as a trade school. Get the kids in there, learn everything. That's what they need to do with that school.
And there's also concern about new construction altering the area.
Well, we don't need 3-story here. This is also 1.5 dwellings here. It's going to be more crime, more garbage.
City officials say the goal is to add homes without paving over farmland near transit, parks, and existing businesses. But exactly what these homes look like will depend on public feedback.
Housing is a great opportunity if it can be used for any kind of training purposes. I have seen seen the Windsor Police using it for training. Anything that anyone in the community can offer for ideas would be, I think, greatly appreciated.
The online survey is open until September 16th.
Sanjay Maru, CTV News.
Now to the courts, where Ontario's Court of Appeal has overturned a murder conviction for a Windsor man and ordered a retrial. CTV's Michelle Molesky reports.
John Pierre is getting a new trial. Now 55 years old, Pierre was convicted of second-degree murder in 2018 and sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 15 years. Pierre admitted to killing his girlfriend, 42-year-old Leslie Waterworth, in November 2016.
We got through it.
Yeah, we did.
And now he's going to pay.
Waterworth's family sat through every day of the 3-week trial in September 2018.
This was a complicated case, factually, and a difficult issue to decide.
The defense argued a long history of mental health issues, fueled by 3 days of binge drinking and drug consumption, which left his client with what is described as, quote, disordered thinking. The jury learned after the murder, Pierre acted erratically, going to a beer store, 2 restaurants, and the casino, wearing a business suit over his blood-soaked overalls. The Crown, on the other hand, argued that was the sign of a person trying to avoid responsibility, noting Pierre did not call for help and he didn't appear intoxicated or mentally unstable in any security camera footage. His appellate lawyers successfully argued, however, it was Justice Renee Pomerantz's charge to the jury where a mistake was made. The Court of Appeal has agreed the jurors weren't properly instructed to not put too much weight on that post-offense conduct over all the other evidence at trial. Pierre will remain behind bars while a new trial is scheduled in Windsor. Michelle Molesky, CTV News.
And in unrelated news, Windsor police are searching for a suspect wanted for allegedly setting 2 fires along the railway near South Pacific and Parent Avenue around 6 a.m. this past Saturday, of course, in the city of Windsor. No injuries were reported as a result. Now, police describe the man as white and in his 30s. Any tips should go to Windsor police. In Chatham-Kent, the Integrity Commissioner has ruled on complaints concerning the planned CK Hub project in that community. CTV's Stephanie Mazzotti reports on those findings.
In December 2024 and March of 2025, 2 complaints were filed against Chatham councillors. The complaints accuse them of misusing their positions, spreading false information, and undermining municipal staff. After an investigation, the Integrity Commissioner found that Rhonda Jubenville did not break any rules. Her comments about construction options and the proposed CK Hub, a potential replacement for the Civic Centre, were within Council's Code of Conduct. However, the Commissioner found that Councillor Alison Story did break the code in 2 ways. First, she made false statements suggesting the CK Hub team ignored accessibility standards, and she linked the move to the old Sears Mall location with a loss of municipal services, which wasn't accurate. As a result, the Commissioner is recommending a reprimand for Story for the first complaint and a 10-day pay suspension for the second. No penalties were recommended for Jubenville. Council is expected to make a final decision at their next meeting on August 25th. Stephanie Mazzotti, CTV News.
Okay, after the break, CTV meteorologist Julie Atchison joins us with a look at some more rain on the way and how the rest of the week is shaping up.
We're seeing an increase of counterfeit money being passed as legitimate currency.
Still ahead, our Bob Belichico takes a look at how to spot fake bills police say are circulating in the region. CTV meteorologist Julie Atchison joining us now for a check of the forecast. And Julie, as you told us about yesterday, some much needed rain moving through the region today.
Yes, it was just nice, even to be outside today. I was out in the rain and it was just nice to have a bit of a change, welcoming rainfall across the region. Temperatures not coming up quite as high as I'd expected. That warm front just meandering its way off to the south. So the humidity, although it crept up, we didn't see a big push through the afternoon. 24 degrees, mid-20s across Essex County, 17 degrees our low temperature, close to where we should be for this time of year. The main rain moving out overnight. The probability will drop down to about a 30% chance. Still have overcast conditions and some light drizzle. Essex County dipping between 18 and 19 degrees overnight, and we'll see a bit of a wind shift to the north through the overnight. Now that's not going to usher in some colder temperatures, but we will see those winds shift behind the area of low pressure. Now the winds through the day tomorrow out of the northeast and a bit breezy at times in the afternoon, about 20 with gusts to 40. So you can see the rain that moved through our area, again associated with this area of low pressure. That low will exit overnight and high pressure will start to build back in. But we do have a bit of stubborn cloud that just wants to hang over the Great Lakes through the day tomorrow. So skies will be mainly cloudy, about a 30% chance of drizzle through the early part of the day. Into the afternoon, as high pressure starts to build, we could see some of this cloud cover start to erode. So if you are heading out for a late evening walk tomorrow, that's when you'll see the greatest opportunities to see some peaks of sunshine. 25 degrees heading into the afternoon. I mentioned the winds out of the northeast through the day. Quick check on Hurricane Erin, as it will be staying offshore this weekend as it heads toward the Maritimes, but far enough that the main impacts, of course, will be through the ocean area, but there will be some strong currents moving through, so keeping an eye on that. But again, staying a Cat 2 to a Cat 1 by the time it gets south of Nova Scotia. Over the next 7 days, a mix of sun and cloud for your Thursday at 26, 29 with mainly sunny conditions on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud, looking good both days, 25 to 29 degrees. Now Sunday into Monday, you can see these probabilities. Now when there's a 30% chance of rain, I generally don't put the rain on the forecast because expecting the majority of the day to be dry. Now we could see a pop-up shower, especially Sunday into Monday with the temperature change from 25 to 22. So this could lead to some showers and thunderstorms. I'll keep you posted on the timing of that. But daytime highs over the next 7, anywhere from 26 to about 29 degrees. The humidity through the day tomorrow in the low 30s. So comfortable, tolerable. We're not into the extreme heat by any means, but heading into the last week of August, as we start to wrap up the summer, expecting a mix of sun and cloud on Monday, full sunshine on Tuesday, but a drop off in temperature. So we will start to think about back to school, of course. And as we start to wind down summer-like conditions, we'll see a bit of a taste of fall-like air. Ricardo, back to you.
Okay, well, we're talking about fall already. Let's enjoy the rest of summer here, folks. Looks like it's going to be a nice back half there as well, as Julie laid out. Well, Statistics Canada reporting some rosier and summer-like inflation numbers. It's down in July, although groceries and housing costs were still on the rise. The annual inflation rate fell to 1.7% last month from 1.9% in June. Gas prices helped drive inflation lower, down 0.7%, but grocery prices climbed 2.8% over the same period.
Hopefully we will see some changes in the overnight rate. The next decision from the Bank of Canada is about a month from now in mid-September. Although, you know, we've already seen the declines in economic growth for the second and third quarter, or the projections anyway. And so it's not clear to me that the bank is necessarily going to change the overnight rate at all in September, or maybe for the rest of the year.
Well, the TSX weighed down by losses in base material stocks today. You can see they're down 99 points, while the Dow is up 10 points, and the NASDAQ a big fall of 315 points today. The Canadian dollar also down to rest at 72.19 cents U.S. Gold losing just over $19 an ounce in value, while oil dips 93 cents a barrel. Start your day with the latest local news. By signing up for our newsletter, you'll get direct local content straight from CTV Windsor to your inbox, including top stories, the forecast, and videos. You can sign up at ctvnewswindsor.ca. Welcome back. We told you last night about a warning in Essex of more fake cash circulating in the region. Well, tonight, our Bob Belichico hears from police and what you need to watch out for to avoid a fake cash scam.
We're seeing an increase of counterfeit money being passed as legitimate currency.
OPP is warning the public about fake money circulating in the region. They confirmed 2 incidents Monday, one in Essex and the other in Leamington, where bogus bills were used to pay.
They have it in their possession and they're trying to offload it.
OPP Constable Stephen Duguay warns anyone who buys items through Marketplace should be wary of cash they receive.
There's tips on the Bank of Canada website that will give you what the security features are on our bills. We have some of the safest currency in the world.
Some of those tips include running your fingers over it to feel erased ink and braille. Look for a small frosted maple leaf over the large numerical value on the bill, and the serial numbers should not duplicate.
I hope I didn't get any.
The Essex BIA sent a warning to businesses, which got the attention of owners like Karen Van Imp, owner of Dom and Aaliyah's Pajamas.
My daughter emailed me the thing from Facebook showing me that, and I was just looking at it at the same time. I thought, oh no, I better start checking this money out, but I'm not really sure.
Well, we really don't deal with too much cash, and I wouldn't really want it to come through my store either.
So you'll be more aware of it now.
Yes, definitely.
You never know until you actually run into something like that, so we do have to be aware of it for sure.
Kaya Cottingham, manager of Two Waves in Essex, asked her staff if they could tell the difference between a fake and real dollar bill.
Everybody seemed to know, but I did do a run through of like kind of the different feelings on the cash and then just what to look for.
OPP says it's okay to refuse the money, but don't fall for the guilt trip that may follow. Allow the person to leave, then
report it to police immediately and gather as much information, make, model of a vehicle, license plate, but do so you don't put yourself in harm's way as well.
Bob Belichico, CTV News.
Meantime, St. Clair College says all venues and events for Saints athletics are going cashless starting immediately. Only cards and contactless payments will be accepted for the 2025-26 varsity season. Officials say will improve efficiency and cleanliness as well. Now back to the Air Canada labor dispute. Following today's tentative deal, flights have begun to resume. But as CTV's Adrian Gabriel reports, for passengers caught in the middle of the strike, there are compensation options still available.
The Kumar family were excited for a European adventure, just not like this.
There's lots of points of frustration.
The Toronto family arrived in Europe on August 3rd. The return flight this past Sunday was canceled. At the time, Air Canada said it was unable to book them on a return flight home on a different airline.
You can get a refund or you can get a credit.
Carla Kumar even found 4 tickets home this Wednesday on Delta and presented that as an option for Air Canada to book for the family in accordance with Transportation Canada regulations. Air Canada refused to purchase the tickets.
How has it gotten to the point where we just completely have no accountability for passenger rights in Canada?
The Kumars bought 3 of their 4 tickets using their personal credit card, so they called their provider to see what type of insurance they might be entitled to. That's when they learned their specific coverage on their card didn't include this type of labor stoppage.
It has to do with the classification of how this sort of labor dispute came about.
It does change from card to card, but at best, it has a maximum attached to it. So maybe $2,500 for trip cancellation and $1,500 for trip interruption. Needless to say, not going to be enough.
Insurance specialists say anytime a portion of your trip is non-refundable, like many cruise deals, it's wise to purchase insurance from a provider, but you need to ask the right questions.
This new world we live in now, though, has so many other things: weather, government advisories, labor disruptions. They all add up that we never used to really see or incur.
Depending where you are in the world, local laws may actually offer you additional protection. If you're a Canadian in Europe stranded by Air Canada, well, the airline has to pony up not just for a new ticket, but also for your food and hotel expenses.
Adrian Gabriel, CTV News.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
Okay, Julie is back with a wrap-up for 7-day forecast. Julie, as you were laying out a little bit earlier, we might have maybe a little bit of inclement weather to get through, but the back half of the week shaping up nicely.
Yeah, overcast conditions tonight. The main rain moves out and just some light drizzle. Through the morning tomorrow, patchy drizzle expected across most of Essex County, and then into the afternoon, just mainly cloudy. The winds kicking up a bit out of the northeast. Thursday looks good, a mix of sun and cloud. You're right, that back half looks lovely on Friday, sunshine and 29. Mix of sun and cloud for your Saturday. Looking good Sunday night into Monday. A temperature drop will lead to some showers likely and the risk of thunderstorms. But we'll keep her dry as we head through the extended forecast. If you do have some nice plans this weekend, looking good. Comfortable conditions under a mix of sun and cloud. Ricardo, back to you.
Okay, Julie, looking forward to it. Thank you for that. Well, finally for us tonight, we take you to Elgin County, where an art project aims to play for peace in Ukraine. CTV's Brent Lowe brings us that story tonight.
Nine-year-old Ivanka Biga likes to play a piece for peace. It relaxes her as she worries every day about the safety of her relatives in Ukraine.
I miss my grandma, and well, she used to come visit me, but then when the war started, she stopped visiting.
The Elgin County Ukrainian community and local artists have collaborated on the Piano Peace Project.
This was one way of music just kind of being that healer for them and coming together, community, sitting around the piano, and that's what they're doing in Ukraine. If there's a place that has been bombed, there's maybe an instrument that's been left standing, and the piano is one of them. They'll paint it, and that is their sense of solidarity and brings resilience to them again.
You can see there's a map of Ukraine, and all of these symbols are from the Ukrainian heritage. And my parents were immigrants who fled after World War II, fled Europe to come to this land of strength and beauty and peace. And I felt that it was so important to come and help all the people that had also been displaced.
We've been sending things like tourniquets, medical supplies, as well as humanitarian aid. So that's the purpose of having the piano play a piece for peace. Give us a donation, and we will be sending it to where it's needed.
And the need is as great as ever. As President Donald Trump pushes to end the war, Russia continues to attack Ukraine with drones and missiles.
It would be really nice to not have, the bloodshed. It's devastating for family and friends of people living there.
The piano will remain at the local Home Hardware, where they will accept donations until the end of August. It will then move to a new location, which is yet to be revealed. Brent Lowe, CTV News.
Yeah, play for a piece of peace. For peace, I should say. That is a great initiative there. That is our time tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We'll see you again tomorrow at 6. Until then, I'm Ricardo, Veneza, and for everyone here at CTV on both sides of the camera, have a great night.